So we finally have the long-awaited Galaxy Tab A11 Plus, which is now available in some regions. But is it the upgrade everyone was waiting for? Well, sort of. It now starts with 128 gigabytes of storage, so that's a nice upgrade over 64 gigabytes on the base model of the previous version. You also get 6 gigabytes of RAM on the base model. They also increased the base model from 4 gigabytes of RAM up to 6 gigabytes now. You can also get an 8 gigabyte version if you go with the 256 gigabytes of storage. It also takes a micro SD card to expand the storage. There should also be a cellular version as well, so that's good to see. As far as I know, there's just gray and silver colors, which I guess I'm okay with. I wouldn't mind seeing some more fun colors though, like what Apple does with their iPads. They did make it a hair lighter, 477 grams instead of 480. Looks pretty much the same on the back. Still has that plastic strip that goes along the side. It's probably hard to tell from this blue version, but you can see it looks pretty much identical as the Galaxy Tab A9 Plus. Kind of wish they would have moved the headphone jack a little bit off of the corner. I don't know, maybe that's just me. You'll see they got rid of the pogo pins on the bottom. To be honest, I'm not even sure if they ever came up with an accessory to use that. Here along the edge, it does seem like it's a little sharp where the screen is. Almost like the screen has a little bit of an overhang. So a little bit of concern there with quality control. It's not a huge deal, especially if you use a case. Just something I thought I would point out. Software-wise, is probably one of the bigger upgrades from the previous Tab A9 Plus. Comes with Android 16 right out of the box, and it's going to get 7 years of software updates. So really nice there. One other small change, it went from Bluetooth 5.1 to 5.3 as well. It's still on Wi-Fi 5 though, unfortunately. Hopefully that won't be a problem 5 or 6 years from now when it's still getting updates. It's got an 11-inch TFT display at up to 90 Hz refresh rate at 1200 by 1920 resolution. So pretty much the same as the Galaxy Tab A9 Plus. The display on here might be a tad brighter though, so that should help some. I think the picture quality on here is probably a little better than expected. It's going to be fairly comparable to the previous A9 Plus. The good thing is it's at least 1080p resolution, which I think the smaller A9 tablet should be. When setting up, you've got face unlock, PIN, password, or pattern. Of course, you have light and dark mode. They really want you to install all of these Samsung apps, but I feel like some of these are duplicates. Let's say you don't need calendar. There's a real small check mark that you can choose, and then it won't install that one. It's got where the notifications and quick settings are separate. Of course, you can always change that in the quick panel settings. You can see it's got the same wallpaper as the smaller Galaxy Tab A11. It's currently on Android 16, One UI 8.0. You can see they have the widgets by default underneath the clock, again to match some of the other newer Samsung products. And then of course you can customize that to pretty much however you like. You've got different fonts, styles, you can change what widgets are there, the colors, you can even change the icons down here in the corner. It looks like the wallpapers are pretty much the same as other Samsung devices. You still have the option of Samsung News or Google Discover newsfeed left of the home screen. If you hit the little pencil, you can do panel settings, and then you can put your notifications and quick settings back together like previous Samsung tablets. You can also rearrange each section by tapping and dragging. So again, lots of different ways to customize. I like how you have the shortcut for notification settings in case you're getting a lot of notifications from a certain app that you'd like to turn off. It looks like it's using only about 19% of the 128 gigabytes of storage. I feel like that's pretty typical. It looks like this has the newer Samsung DeX where you can add multiple desktops and then switch back and forth. You can also tap and drag floating windows to the sides to do split screen as well. You've also got the taskbar down at the bottom. I can tell already just downloading some of these apps, it seems quite a bit faster than the previous A9 Plus. It's now got the MediaTek Dimensity 7300 processor over the previous Snapdragon 695, so the performance is actually quite a bit better, as you can see by the benchmark results. It seemed to play games like PUBG Mobile and Asphalt Legends Unite fairly smooth on here. It definitely feels a little bit snappier than the A9 Plus. So if you used the previous Tab A9 Plus and thought it was a little slow or just wanted better gaming performance, this should be a nice upgrade from that. It also has the same size 7040 milliamp hour battery, but it's got faster charging now at 25 watts instead of 15. I also ran my typical battery drain test at 100% screen brightness, and it lasted about 6.5 hours, so just a tad better than the Tab A9 Plus, so plenty to last a couple days of mixed use, even longer once you turn the screen brightness down. One other small difference is they put the power button below the volume rocker to match other Samsung products. Good thing is you still have a headphone jack, and I feel like the speakers were pretty nice and loud on the A9 Plus. They did update the style of the speakers on the side to match the newer Samsung tablets, and it looks like they kept the same setup as before with 2 speakers on each side with Dolby Atmos. Here's a quick sample just to give you an idea of what it sounds like. As far as cameras go, it's still got an 8 megapixel rear facing, 5 megapixel on the front, and up to 1080p resolution for video recording. So pretty much the same as the A9 Plus. In the camera app, it may be slightly different from the older A9 Plus, depending on which software version you're on. They've moved a lot of stuff over here to the left, like settings, aspect ratio, and so on. You've got portrait, photo, video. Under more, you have pro, night, food, panorama, and hyperlapse. Seems to have pretty fast shutter speed on here. Here's a few quick samples just to give you an idea of what to expect. I feel like the cameras weren't that great on the A9 Plus. I think the picture quality is actually a little better on the A11 compared to the older A9 Plus. I would imagine you could use this for Zoom meetings and other video conference calls if you had to, but you'll definitely get better results just using your cell phone, even budget cell phones really, but sort of what you would expect from an entry-level tablet. While at first glance this seems like a pretty small update to the A9 Plus, I think there's a couple things that would make me upgrade for sure, and that would be the 7 years of software updates. Plus, this one seems to have much better performance, especially if you compare the base model of this and the A9 Plus. Of course, some of this is going to be personal preference. If you just got the A9 Plus as a gift or something like that, obviously it's still going to be good for a while. But if you go to upgrade, hopefully this will be available in your region before too long. I'll definitely do some more comparisons with this tablet. Plus, I've got a lot more stuff that I'm working on as usual, so you'll want to keep an eye out for those upcoming videos. So if you've made it this far into the video, you may want to say thanks by subscribing, and don't forget to give a thumbs up if this video was helpful. This is Brian from Fishbee Productions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.